Hey, it is Di. I am here at Creative Calm Design and this is going to be a December daily video. I am going to do my reason why is what I think this is going to be. So for prep day, we had a bunch of lessons from Ali and the team, and one of the projects that Ali did was an envelope with a vellum insert, pocket, hole, window is the word I'm looking for there, with a vellum window. And then she had these like Santa things, like everyone was going to write their list of things that they wanted from Santa. I'm going to take this idea, but what I'm going to do is do the pocket, the envelope with the window. I'm going to do that on my Cricut. I think I'm just going to do white, I think. I'm going to sew. Hang on, let me just get a pen. So we're not doing that because I don't like that Santa, but I'm not doing this. What I'm thinking, and I'm just kind of spitballing here, if you'd have seen the video where I unboxed this, I was completely besotted with this. This is beautiful. This is silver foil vellum. Apparently it's playtime again. My plan is, let's just use that as a template. So this is my calendar. I'm just going to use this as a template. I'm going to turn that upside down. So my plan is that I have, yeah, I think it'll work. So that I have the window there. The window there. How big is this? 8.5. It should be 8.5 by 7. Yeah, 8.5 by 7. We cut the hole in with the red thing on the outside. Then this goes in there. I'm going to cut a little notch there. So we're going to take that out. This will be, let's go, you know, the tree. That's the tree. Just in case you're wondering, this is the tree. Those are all snowflakes, by the way. That's the tree. Have the notch, and then behind there, behind this, my plan is that I stamp 2025 and then maybe like December or something. I know I have that stamp. One sec. I have this. Is there anything? I was looking for like a December daily. I mean, I can print it on there. Like December daily, something like that, December daily 2025. And then on the back of there, like that will be like that with the holes. That will be like that. And then the again, tree on the front, because that's in the window, right? And on the back, reason why, and then blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. That is my plan. So I'm going to measure this because that's gonna, I need to know how big this is, because it's like, let's say it's 7 inches by, let's say 4.5. So I know that I'll have roughly, that's 4.5, I'll have roughly 1.25 inches on each side. That is not in the middle, so 1.25 inches on each side, poking out of the window, yeah. 1.25 inches on each side. Okay. I think that's the plan. The first thing that I'm going to do is to make the envelope. I think what I'm going to do is just literally make it in, like I said, in Canva. Make this in Canva with the red line, just as it was there, with the red line just outside the window. And then what I think I'm going to do is to make it a pocket, I'm just going to stitch on the edge in white or red. All right, that is the plan. Let's go to Canva. Okay, so here we are in Canva. I have just got a letter size Canva document open, and I'm going to make a rectangle that is R, and I'm going to make my rectangle the size that I need it, which was 7 by 8.5. Then I'm going to add this other rectangle in the middle, and I'm kind of like, okay, this is, I'm going to say it's like my tree vellum. This is where the vellum pocket window is going to be. So I'm going to make sure that those are like centered within each other. And then I'm like, you know, this is actually going to be easier if I do it a different way. So that rectangle at the back, I'm like, okay, what I need to do is make that a border for it to be the window, right? Because I need to cut out the hole in the middle. So I end up putting a border around that instead, making the middle of it like empty. You can do that in Canva. And you can see here, I'm just going to remove that middle bit. I end up doing that and making that another border in the red. Now you will see I have the artwork from Ali of the album that I bought, the Falala. So I'm going to bring that in and I'm going to color pick the red from that album so that it matches. So I'm going to do that, and you can see I've got the border there, and I'm like, yep, this is going to work. This is going to work. So I just have a little play, and I'm like, yes, I've got the red line, this purple box here, that's going to be my vellum thing eventually. So I'm like, yes, it's going to work. So I'm going to get rid of the purple square, and I'm just making sure here that I've got enough space to do the stitching and the punching of the holes on any of the sides. So I'm going to save that as a transparent PNG, and that will just save the white and the red rectangle that you see here. I'm going to import that into Cricut, which is what you will see here, and I'm just having a bit of a play. I resized this to the size that I want it, which again was 7 by 8.5, and it's too big to print and cut. Now, thankfully, it's literally 1/4 of an inch too big. So Cricut gives me this, do you want to auto size this to print and cut? And I'm like, yes, I do. Yes, please, take my headaches away. So I'm going to print and cut that and send it to the printer. And while that is printing, I'm just going to go through the usual settings on the print qualities, the print properties. I'm going to cut this on medium cardstock, which is what usually works for me for my cardstock projects. This is actually kind of just regular cardstock. I'm going to get that printed. Once it is printed, you'll see here I'm going to place it on my Cricut mat. And then we're just going to pop it back into the Cricut and get it cut, which really didn't take that long at all. Once that's done, I'm going to bring it back to my table, remove it from the mat, and I'm going to get some thicker cardstock. So this is just general, like, 80-pound cardstock. It's not, I think it's 80 pounds. I don't know. It's not very thick is what I will say. And I want this to be somewhat sturdy. So what I'm going to back it with on the back, what I'm going to sew it to, is going to be some cardstock. And again, I use everything. It's going to be cardstock that I got in my photo paper pack. So when you buy photo paper, whether it's matte or like regular photo paper, you generally get like a sturdier piece of cardstock, at least one. Usually you get two, and I'm just going to use one of those. So you'll see me, I used the window that I cut on the Cricut as a template to cut that white cardstock. I've got my vellum under here, and I'm just kind of playing with the positioning of where I want that in the window. Once I get that figured out, I'm going to use my bulldog clip here. I don't know what we call them, that binder clip, whatever it is. We call them bulldog clips in the UK. So I'm going to use that as my, I'm going to say, holder to hold them together. And I'm just making this much harder than it should have been to cut this vellum off, and I get that cut off and kind of trim around it so that it's, I want enough to hold the vellum to the paper. I don't want to kind of trim it like so that it's super close to the window. I want the vellum to be in the stitching is what I will say. I don't know if that makes sense. I want the vellum to be part of the stitching. So although I have the adhesive holding this together, eventually the stitching will hold this together as well. I hope that makes sense. So when I stitch, it will be the white cardstock, the one that I printed on the Cricut, and then the vellum. So I'll be going through 3 pieces. So I get my little sandwich of stuff. Before I take it over to my sewing machine, I'm going to get the top and I'm going to punch a little like semicircle. I'm not going all the way here. You'll see it's probably about 1/4 of the circle. This is a 2-inch hole punch, and it just gives it that little thumb hole that you can grab whatever it is I put inside the envelope. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and sew around the edge. I saved you the headache of seeing me do that because it literally took me forever. I had to replace my needle, rethread my sewing machine. It was just a lot. So I'm going to pull the threads to the back of the envelope, and then I'm just going to tie them off. You can see me here. I'm struggling with this with my embossing tool. And then remember that I have a paper piercer. Oh, look, Rini makes a presence note in there. So I'm chatting to Rini as I'm doing this, because, you know, that's what we do when we're crafting. We chat to friends back and forth. So yes, I'm chatting with Rini as I'm doing this and just telling her the whole headaches of trying to get my sewing machine to sew properly. But I'm just going to tie the ends off on the reverse side. I'm not sure whether I will leave this white or whether I will put pattern paper on the back of here. Again, I'm not sure yet. All of that is up in the air. But as long as the front looks nice, I'm happy. Now you will see here, I pulled the threads and I accidentally pulled the threads the wrong way and ended up with, I think it was 2 of the holes that didn't have any thread in. Rather than leave it like that, what I decided to do was thread a needle with the thread that's part of the stitching on the pocket, and I'm just going to go back through the holes and pretend that that's how I did it. So this is partially machine sewed and partially hand sewed, right? So it might not bother you. It would bother me having a couple of holes that have no thread in. So I'm just going to do that. And you'll see that I'm using one of the needle threaders as well to do this. I love those things. If you don't have those, absolutely worth getting if you do a lot of hand stitching or any stitching really. So I'm going to, again, tie those off on the back, get rid of all the loose threads because the loose threads do bother me. And then I'm just going to get my little, I'm going to call it my template that I did. If you remember in my setup, I had this sheet that was my template. I used this in my week in the life. So I'm going to get that, again, clip everything together, figure out where I want the holes, because I want them to be further away from the stitching. I don't want to get any of the stitching in there. So I'm going to punch the holes. This is the We Are Memory Keepers like multi-hole punch. I love this thing. It will literally punch through so much stuff. And then I call it done. I haven't done the inside. The more I thought about this, the more I think, because it's got a tree on it, this might go with my tree photo. I don't know. I haven't 100% decided, but that's what I'm thinking right now. I don't think it's going to be my reason why. The more I worked on it, the more I was like, no, it's more of a journaling pocket, lots of information. So that is my first page done using Ali's Prep Day as inspiration. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, then give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.